Hello, you beautiful people out there, and welcome to the Banner Gaming's talk on the Artifact Alpha build releases. This is our first impressions of them. And please keep in mind, this is Alpha, so things are subject to change. My name is Kimo.
And my name is Wisdom. Now, before everybody gets all excited, I do want to refer you to a couple of the resources that we're using to talk about this. We are looking at the Wowhead talent trees as they are set up right now for artifact weapons, and not everybody's data is available yet. I, for one, am very disappointed. Brewmasters are actually so broken on the alpha as of the time of this recording that they're not actually playable, let alone have they bothered to try and give us an artifact weapon to break us even further.
Well, if
So,
they would spend a little less time drinking, a little more time working on their weapon, maybe they would be ready, okay?
I mean, there's a reason that there's supposed to be a keg on the end, man. I don't know what more you want from me. We do have a couple of really interesting different things going on here. But generally speaking, there is some consistency across all of the artifact weapons that we've seen so far. Everybody has some kind of a talent tree. The shape of it is dramatically different between weapons, and it actually is meant to resemble your artifact weapon of spec. So, like the Frost DK one looks dramatically different than the Blood DK one, and they actually look like their in game counterparts here. So, depending on which weapon you're playing with, you're going to have a different set of unlocks, and the order and the way that you go about that will be different. Similarly, some of the talents are very clearly PvP oriented. Even though we are going to be able to get every single talent in the artifact weapon tree at some point, the order in which you will want to do that is going to be very dramatically different depending on what part of the game you like to play.
Or maybe you just want survivability because you're really bad at standing in fire.
I mean,
Then maybe they are all PvE then.
yeah, if you do that in my raid, you're not going to last too long. So everybody's got to start with one talent that everybody's railroaded into taking here. So off the very beginning, everybody has to start off with the same thing. And these look like, generally speaking, the biggest change you will get out of using your artifact weapon. Generally, these are active abilities on about a 45-second cooldown or so, it looks like. Some of them don't even have cooldowns yet, so we'll see what this shapes up to look like. But it's something that you actually will be incorporating into your rotation. Maybe you'll just macro it into all your cooldowns, but I don't know yet. It depends. From that,
And it looks like every weapon has literally just one move. So a quick example is the Marksman Hunter's Wind Burst. Focuses the power of wind through your bow, dealing 500% damage to your target that leaves behind a trail of wind, increasing the speed of any ally in the wind trail by 50%. That seems cool for PvE, seems really cool for PvP.
now, the extent to which we will see raid utility being employed in a lot of different healer or tank or even DPS weapons, we don't yet know. Everybody has something different and unique here, but I would be surprised and a little bit concerned if we saw a lot of utility in just a few artifacts that would make them maybe a little bit overpowered in certain settings. Now, from that active ability, you've then got a whole pile of talents that you can take in different kinds of configurations. And like we said earlier, some of these are clearly PvP talents. I mean, how many Frost DKs need 300% extra healing or damage reduction from certain abilities? It's weird. But you don't have to take them if you don't want to, right? There are ways to spec around them if you're looking to, depending on what spec you're playing. And so we're going to see some interesting different kinds of builds off the bat here. And then once
I
you
honestly hope everybody's opening move puts something on the ground. Like Hunters puts wind on the ground. I think, the Blizzard development team was like, oh, Blade Master trinkets aren't going to be useful. And how else can we piss off the melee? Oh, okay, let's add a class that's melee and let's make everybody's opening artifact move put some kind of shit on the ground.
I can't tell you. We had our off tank quit over having like 17 Blade Master trinkets in our raid. So I mean, I can't be too defensive about it because I use one of them. But still, I mean, it is a little bit silly. I hope that we don't have too gratuitous graphics going on with these different abilities.
I'm
So
ranged, so I don't give a
I'm
fuck.
gonna make you play survival, and then you're gonna cry. So once you sink enough points into your talent tree, there it looks like everybody gets three generally, sort of epic talents at the end that you only have to put 1 point into, and they give you not an active ability, but just a very special passive. Generally, these are big damage buffs, quality of life changes, things like that. So look for those. Go onto your Warcraft news site of choice, besides, of course, the actual website, and go look for these things. You can find them on the internet if you want. So some of these are actually pretty cool. I have to say I like the druid artifact weapon. One of their very first talent, and I think this would actually look very pretty depending on how they implement it, but when you put a heal on somebody, you have a chance to sprout flowers near that target's location, which heals other people. I really like the idea of having one resto druid in a raid and having them healing people, and you just see flowers and stuff spreading all over the ground. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's too flowery for some people, but I think it would look cool, and I think it's a kind of an interesting effect that makes it really unique. And it does put something special into the game, and it does get back to their unique artifact weapon. And so those kinds of things, I think, are a
Do
step
you
in the right direction.
realize that the Burning Legion is taking over the world? Man, ain't nobody got time for no flowers.
I'm gonna
I ain't
stop the
got
Burning
time for
Legion with
that.
flowers. It's fine. It would just if the flowers are big and maybe we put mouths on them or something, then we'll eat the demons.
Feed me, Seymour.
So then the other big thing we've got here is we have relic slots. All right, every single weapon here has two, at least in the talent calculator, and so
You get a relic, and you get a relic, and you get a relic. Look under your seat. Everybody in my crowd today gets 2 relics. Woo!
so it looks like this is going to be the way in which we differentiate the normals from the heroics from the mythics. Now, because every relic slot, in addition to giving you one extra talent, at least from what we've data mined so far, um, in some way, it also gives you a flat item level buff. So, using two of the best relics that are available in the game at this point, from what we've seen, you can put an extra 40 item levels onto your weapon. Generally, this goes in increments of 10. So, I mean, that's pretty substantial. 40 item levels on a weapon is, what is that? That's pretty much what we've seen over the bulk of the expansion and Warlords so far. So, I mean, that's a lot of power. Plus,
Yeah, but you gotta remember though, this is also counting the leveling up process. So if it was 40 item levels between like one raid tier and another raid tier in Legion, that'd be one thing. But I mean, when you level up, I mean, I think you pretty much go up 40 to 50 levels.
yeah, but I mean, your artifact weapons are going to be consistent. So you're getting, from what we're seeing at level 110, everybody's going to be having an eye level 750 artifact weapon. So 40 more on top of that. I mean, 790 versus 750, that's substantial. And I don't think
Oh, okay.
that's level
I
100 to
see.
level 110. Again, I may be wrong. We don't have, at least I don't have a playable alpha version. And those that do don't seem to have enough data at their fingertips to do anything about it. What is kind of different here is that these relics come in flavors. I mean, we've seen tier getting shared across different classes forever. But now we have a different system for grouping people together because, besides the fact that it's horrendously unfair that they decided to stick a fifth leather class in when they should have gone with cloth, they've now restructured the way in which people care about stuff for their artifact weapons. So we've got sort of Captain Planet style elements here. Some people have, we've got stuff like Frost, Holy, Arcane, Life, Blood, Fire, Water, and then I saw an Iron in there at some point, which is particularly unique. But you're going to be going after these things that come in these particular flavors and sticking them into your weapon and looking for the biggest upgrade you can get your hands on. Now, certain relics, despite giving you a flat 10 or 20 eye level buff, are tied to a particular talent in your artifact weapon. And I think this is going to be very interesting because I suspect that we will see some points where one set of talents is ridiculously good. All right, maybe it's an overtuned buff to a certain ability that becomes core in your rotation, or it gives you that little bit of extra crit or frost damage or what have you that just sort of pushes it over the edge. So you will actually, rather than upgrading your weapon an extra 10 item levels, you may want to stick with that particular talent if it's good enough. So I think that's going to be an interesting balancing puzzle that we will see later on.
I think the whole balancing issue with the weapons actually makes it easier for Blizzard. So what the talent trees look like to me is there's three different kind of talents on the actual talent tree of the weapon, not counting the relics. You got your first one, which is your actual new move. You have three, maybe more or less specialized talents, which some can be passive, some can be something cool. And a lot of them are just like for the hunter, multi-shot damage increased by 3%. Arcane shot, critical shreds generate 100% more focus. Reduce the cooldown of true shot. Reduce the focus of aim shot. It's just buffs to your current weapons. It doesn't do anything special or fun. So theoretically, Blizzard can buff you or nerf you without literally typing in you're getting buffed or nerfed anymore. So there'll be less people complaining. So instead of druids doing more damage, so they're going to reduce moonfire by 20%, they're going to reduce starfire by 20%. They're just going to go, okay, well, we're going to change the talent in their weapon to do either more or less damage based on what we want. And it seems less invasive than just going in and gutting out direct numbers. And I think it might cause less community outrage too.
I'm that's a valid point, but I am going to be curious to see how this shakes out because what I'm talking about here is more like haste breakpoints that we used to see, where you stacked a certain amount of haste, and all of a sudden, rather than just getting a 30 DPS increase, all of a sudden you got a 130 DPS increase, and that mattered.
It was kind of like that episode of Futurama when Fry hit the 100th coffee. Everything just started moving super slow around him, and he just gained super fast speed. But before the 100th coffee, the 99th coffee just acted like a regular cup of coffee.
So perhaps
somebody doesn't watch Futurama. Okay, understood. Got it.
So Continue. Perhaps similarly, when you stick that fourth or fifth particular level of talent into your artifact weapon, because you can pick two relics that are different yet buff the same particular talent. You may see that using certain combinations of things becomes more powerful than going for the item upgrade. And I'll be curious to see how that shakes out. Now, what I do think is really, really interesting about the relics is just how many people are going to be fighting over some of these ones. Water, in particular, has been a standout in the brief overview I've been doing. At one point, I saw 7 classes eligible for the exact same relic. And if that buffs good talents for 2 or 3 or 4 of those classes, there's going to be a lot of competition for those besides the flat eye level buff, because, that by itself will be a big deal. So I'll be curious to see how many of those things we get.
Since you took my Captain Planet joke, I'm going to have to make a new one. So even though I might need a water, element one, guys, if you need a water or a fire, this is what you do. You open up your computer, you take all your old Pokemon cartridges, you connect them directly to your motherboard. You then transfer all the water type Pokemon you have directly onto your motherboard into the World of Warcraft game. Then you proceed to put them all in your garrison and shrink your garrison inside of a Pokeball. You then take that Pokeball and you shove it into your artifact weapon, thus giving you the element power you need without rolling on shit.
Game-breaking Warcraft hacks brought to you by the Banner Gaming, everybody. This has been Kimo.
Damn right. You can blame Wisdom for that terrible joke.
Hey,
somebody took my Captain Planet.
Everybody knows what Captain Planet is. You can't blame me for making the reference.
The Legion is polluting our world. Somebody must save us from the green fire.
At least I know how to put spaces in between the words water, earth, fire, and wind.
Spaces are for noobs. I don't got time for spaces. I'm doing too much DPS.
Keep telling yourself that.
So, aside from that, there are a couple things that I actually am not surprised about. One is that there is going to be items that drop that change the item level of your weapon. If Blizzard didn't add some kind of drop that would replace the weapon, the replayability of the raids would go down. And that wouldn't be good for Blizzard. So, not a surprise. I knew something along the lines was coming out. My only concern with this, I think it's good so far, even though, some of the talents are kind of generic and boring. I was hoping for a little more snaz and maybe I hope they add some more just fun, customizable things that don't actually affect you in any way, shape, or form, and you don't have to, you can get when you're maxed out. But say you want a PvP and PvE, and you have a choice between survival talents and raid talents, or whatever. Is it going to be an easy runic power reset where you can kind of repick everything real quick? Is it going to be as simple as a tome? Is it going to be expensive like retraining used to be in the back in the day? Or is it not going to be an option at all?
Yeah, I am a little bit curious how this is going to shake out because if you look at what we've got data mined so far, you only have uncommon and rare relics right now. So, just like with these things work a lot like gems. So, this is the easiest analogy, but we saw in Warlords, we only had rare gems as our best quality for a while, and then we got our hands on epics when a new raid came out. I suspect we will see something very similar going on in Legion,
Not
and
even relics though, just talents in general. Like, can you repick the talents easier in the weapon?
oh, well, yeah. I mean, we're gonna see changes like that. One thing that actually stood out to me is that there's one particular talent on the unholy Death Knight weapon that it says that when you death grip a target, it is then rooted for 6 seconds. Um, I am just thinking about this from a raid leading perspective. I can just see that driving me insane. Every time we have a Death Knight join our raid team, and if they actually make the cut and they raid with us for some time, if they don't use it already, I will buy, make, mail it to them. I make them use the no taunt death grip thing, because not only is that just good practice for a DPS player, but the utility of that ability is ridiculous. And if they take that away by adding in a 6 second route, which is considerable, or if we need that 6 second route, so they need to be taking that talent. I think that's going to be interesting to see if we have players feeling pressured to take certain talents depending on encounters and how they shake out. And if this is great on a fight like Kilrog, but terrible on a fight like Sakrathar, how are we going to see people being able to change that on a fight to fight basis? Because I might want one Death Knight on grip duty on one fight and have the talent for that, and then have a separate Death Knight in our raid not ever take that talent because it's unacceptable for other fights. So I think that this is going to be an interesting thing to see how this shakes out and how it influences raid leading and sort of our metagame here.
And not just that. If you want a PvP and PvE, it's making you pick one. So I hope there's a way to reset it. Or I hope there's like two builds, just like there was two talents. Now that there's going to be, like a dual spec of a artifact weapon kind of thing. That's what I'm hoping for. So you don't have to pick between PvP and PvE. They're doing a lot of good changes to make the game very accessible and fun and rewarding on all sides. So Blizzard, don't make somebody pick. If they only like playing a hunter and they don't want to play anything else, for example, give them the option to play two different ways and not have to dual spec it. If they like survivability, give them two trees or an easy way to switch back and forth. Keep with the simple concept, please. But this has been the Banner Gaming on stuffing Pokemon into your computer. I mean, our first impressions on artifact weapons. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe below. If you like the art, please check out our wonderful artist link below. This has been Kimo.
And I have been Wisdom. Please let us know down below. Are you excited for your artifact? Have you taken a look at the talents? Do you think that this is a good idea? Or is moving back towards the Wrath style, big, bulky talent trees a mistake in your eyes? Please let us know. We would love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for watching and have a good night.
Bye bye.